So now let's talk about different forms of arguments within the functions. And one form of argument is a required argument that we have already done, means that the variable that we are using within the function where we are receiving the values should be sent from where we are using that function. Like this is where we are calling that function, and that function required an argument to be received in a variable list. And here we are calling that function, and it is required that we send a list or a variable name from here that should be received within this function. And it is not required that the name of both the variables is same. Like we can change the variable name list number. Okay, both are different variables, but the values of this list will be received within this variables, and this variable will be used within this function. All right, so this is called a required argument. Next argument is a keyword argument. Keyword argument means that we specify a key. This is the key where we are specifying the argument for this function, and we can assign a key to this value, that this value will be received within this variable. Okay, so I can define like list number equal to. It means the spellings and the conventions, the capital letters, small letters should be same as this one, and this means that the values of this list will be received within the variable that is named like this, list numbers. Okay, and if I add another variable like a, and if I want to print a inside my function, and I want to send like num equals to 3, and I want to send a value to a, and I can write a equals to num. So if I run my app now, you can see that it has printed 3 and it has printed arrays. So what's going on here? First of all, I have defined a list, and our interpreter is not going to run this code before we are calling this function. All right, it should see a line number where we are calling this function. Okay, so interpreter is come to this line, initialize both the variables with the list and with the variable integer. All right, and it's gonna call that function, and within this function I'm sending out the argument with the value list, and that list should be received within the variable list number, and that should be same as this one. All right, and this variable should be received within the variable that is named a right here. Okay, so what is the benefit of this? We could directly send list or num. The benefit of this is that if you don't write this and these keys, we can't change the arrangement of these variables. Like we can't, if the list number is at the first position of the argument list of this function, that should be sent first within this function from where we are calling, and the second number should be sent as the second argument from where we are calling that function. But if we use the keys, we could send number a at the first position from where we are calling this function. Like if I cut this code and paste it right here, then it means that number variable will be received by a key that is named a. No matter we are specifying the first argument right here, but that will surely be received within this variable, although it is a second argument of this print list. All right, so this is the benefit of assigning a keyword arguments. So the third type of argument is a default argument. Okay, default argument means that if I specify a equals to 5 right here, let's remove this one. All right, I'm not sending out any value to a variable a, and I have assigned a default value that if I don't send any value to a variable a, then you should take the value of a as 5. All right, so if I run my app now, you can see that it has printed 5 within this function. All right, and Now it has printed this list after printing 5. Now if I send some value, like I sent a equals to num, alright, and if I run my app now, you can see that it has printed 3. So the default value has been replaced with the value that is being sent with this num variable. So if I don't send anything, the default value will be used. If I send some value, the default value will be replaced with the value that I have sent. So now the last type of arguments is a variable length argument. Like this variable should be like I assign one variable inside the receiving function, but in that function I can send multiple number of values. If I'm not sure that if I want to send 3 values to this function, if I want to send 5 values to this function, if I want to send 10 values to this function, then how can I make sure that how many variables should I write within this function that should receive the values? So let me remove the second argument from this list and second argument from here as well. Alright, so now this is the one variable, but I want to send 3 variables, 3 values, and the next time I want to send 5 values, 100 values, 200 values. How can I make this variable to be able to receive single value, multiple values, or even no value? Alright, so now I just want to add a static before this variable name. It means that this variable has become a pointer, and the pointer means that it's going to receive the address of the multiple number of values that are going to be sent from here, from where we are calling or using that function. So first of all, let me send one value, like I'm sending 5. Let's use a variable, this one, rather than directly adding different values right here. Now let's say I want to print out the arguments, like I want to print list number, okay, and I'm going to remove this one. So let's run our file, and you can see that it has printed 3 comma. All right, it means that it has received one value, and it is expecting that the next value will be received and will be printed after this comma. All right, now let me send multiple values, like I want to send 2, 7, 9. All right, and this same variable, single variable, is going to receive these 3 values. So let's run our file, and you can see that it has printed 2, 7, 9. If I want to separate out different values, I can use a for loop. Like rather than using a print statement within this function, I could use a for loop, like for val in list number. All right, after adding the colon, I can use val within the brackets. All right, now these values will not be printed in the format of these commas. Okay, so now let's run our file, and you can see that it has printed 3 because I'm sending out 3 from here, and this list number only received one value, and this for loop has been executed for once only. Okay, and next I have sent out 3 values, and in this case this for loop have been executed 3 times. All right, and the last thing I want to show about functions is a return statement. Like I have defined a function that I'm gonna give it 2 values. Like I want to give it 2 values, and I want it to return me the sum of those 2 values. All right, so I'm gonna remove that static, and I'm going to remove this one as well. Okay, and I want to receive first value in val1 variable and val2 variable. All right, and inside it I want to define a variable called sum, val1 plus val2. Okay, and rather than writing an empty return statement, I can write return sum from here. Okay, let's remove this one, and I'm going to send out two values. Okay, so first one is 3, second one is 4. All right, and I'm going to receive the return value. So let's run this app first. I'm going to explain you later on. It hasn't printed anything, but there is no error either. So what's going on here? I'm calling that function and sending out two values, 3 and 4. The 3 will be received within this variable val1, and 4 will be received within this val2 variable. And inside this function, it is summing up both the values. All right, and it's gonna store the result of the summation of both the values within this variable, and after that it's going to return me the sum of the sum that has been calculated in the above line. And from where I'm calling that function, I need to receive that value that is being received from this function, and in order to receive that value, I can add another variable before this print statement. All right, so everything that will be sent or returned from this function will be received within this variable, and after that I can print out sum. All right, if I run my file now, you can see that it has printed sum right here. The interpreter first executed this line, and then it executed this function. The return value will is going to be received within this variable, and that variable will be printed. The value of the sum will be printed from here at this line.